Hi there, this is Carly Ziegler, licensed health insurance agent with RV Insurance Benefits. And today I am making this video to talk a little bit about pre-existing conditions. I think that there is a lot of confusion with folks about what exactly a pre-existing condition is, what constitutes one, if you have them or not, and how plans that have wait periods for pre-existing conditions work. So I'm going to try to make this a short but sweet one and cover some information so that you have some clarity on pre-existing conditions. So typically, a pre-existing condition is defined as something that you have been seeking medical treatment for, or been diagnosed with, or been taking a prescription for in 12 months prior to applying for a health insurance plan. So if you have high blood pressure and you're taking medication for that daily, that would be considered a pre-existing condition by most health insurance companies. And I speak with a lot of people about pre-existing conditions and how some plans have wait periods before they'll cover them or have exclusions for coverage of pre-existing conditions. And I'll talk to people and say that, and they'll say, oh, it's fine. I don't have any pre-existing conditions. And then we'll get 5 minutes deeper into the conversation, and all of a sudden, they say that they have sleep apnea and use a CPAP machine. And oh, they hurt their back last year and they've been going to the chiropractor twice a month. And they take medication for their thyroid. And all of those things would technically be considered pre-existing conditions because they are medical conditions that you are bringing to the table as a policyholder before you start insurance under a new insurance plan. So, with pre existing conditions, basically any type of treatment that you're receiving, looking a year back from when you're applying for a policy, that's going to be considered pre existing. So, with most off exchange health insurance plans, so things like short term insurance, like indemnity style plans, anything outside of the marketplace or that's not an employer group plan is typically going to have a wait period before they will cover pre existing conditions or exclude them entirely from coverage. So, people always get really, really gun shy about wait periods or exclusion with pre-existing conditions. If you're looking for a health insurance solution that is not just like 2 months while you're between jobs or 4 months while you're traveling the country in your RV, and then you're going back to work and you're going to get back on that employer plan, I definitely recommend looking for a longer term health insurance scenario. And one of the reasons why I think that that is really key is because I recommend looking for something that has a wait period for pre-existing conditions. And once you get through that wait period, the plan will start to provide coverage for them. And that's really, really nice to have for a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons being if you're on a short duration plan, like say a plan that lasts a year, and you have pre existing conditions, and your plan is just to have the insurance for a year and then get a new policy that lasts a year, you're never going to receive coverage for your pre-existing conditions in that scenario. And you're also setting yourself up for a real vulnerability there because if anything were to occur to you in the life of your 1 year policy and you go to apply for a new one when your current policy ends, those medical occurrences that came up, that popped up in your policy, are now pre-existing conditions. And certain conditions can make someone ineligible for off exchange and underwritten coverage. So if you're looking to go RVing for a couple years or until you find a spot to settle down in and grow roots in, I recommend finding a guaranteed renewable longer term plan. And I like to tell people, I know the pre-existing condition wait period that some of those products have is a little scary, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. With a lot of pre-existing conditions regarding medications, You can use a prescription discount program. And sometimes people don't realize with common and generic medications, using something like GoodRx, you can frequently purchase your medications for less money paying for them yourself than what the copay is for them on a major medical type plan. So be aware that even with a wait period, if you're on a common medication or a generic medication, that might be like no big deal. In fact, it might actually save you money. In terms of going to the doctors for routine lab work and things like that, you can still use in-network doctors if you're on a PPO plan. And a lot of times you'll receive a PPO network discount. So you can get visits discounted, which can be really helpful when you're seeking care for your pre-existing conditions. It's just that the visits aren't going to be covered under the insurance. So your claims will get denied, but you'll still get a network discount. So that can save some money too. And I sort of want to just finish up by covering one more thing that I like to tell people when we're talking pre-existing conditions and nationwide off-exchange plans, and that is your alternative to having a pre-existing condition wait period or a lack of pre-existing condition coverage would be purchasing an ACA plan, a marketplace plan. And those plans do not have any health questions on the applications, and they quote unquote cover pre-existing conditions right from the get-go. But the thing about those plans is most of the time you're going to find a policy with a deductible of $5,000 to $9,000. And with most of those plans, you have to meet your deductible before the policy is going to pay some of your medical expenses. So if you are routinely going to the doctor to renew your high blood pressure medication every 3 months or something like that, and you have an Affordable Care Act plan, you're going to be paying for it probably anyways. And with those plans, a lot of times, a primary care physician or a specialist, you're going to be seeing copays of $100, $150, or you're just paying straight into that deductible. So I encourage you to take a look at what the alternate is, and if it's actually providing you with a whole lot of coverage for those things, because I really think with most of the marketplace plans, people tend to pick up those plans and be what I refer to as functionally uninsured, meaning, yes, technically they have health insurance, but it doesn't really do them any good because their deductible is so high, it's difficult to afford, or they're probably never going to reach it. Another thing about those plans to be aware of is there are network restrictions. With 99% of them, you are going to have to travel back to your network every time that you want to go to the doctor in order to get any coverage at all for doctor's visits, lab work, things like that. So I encourage you to consider all options, weigh the pros and cons, think about how much is it even actually going to cost to pay for pre-existing conditions, and compare it to, is that actually going to cost me more than having a policy that covers them, that has a huge deductible and a limited network? Because 9 times out of 10, you're better off with a nationwide plan. And then, of course, once you have it for a certain amount of time, if it's guaranteed renewable, a lot of times they'll pick up coverage for those things. So that is all things pre-existing condition. If you have a question about pre-existing conditions, what constitute one, how the plans work, anything like that, you know where to find me. You found me on this channel. Please give me a call or send me an email. I'm always happy to help. I hope you have a great day, and I hope this was slightly informative.